Okay, so today's video is going to be all about lasers and eyeballs. That's right, lasers and eyeballs. So, our most recent trip to Disney, we got a lot of footage. We got tons of it, actually. And the really neat thing is, that trip was not even planned. We came up with that trip in the space of about a month and a half maybe. So it was pulling a ton of overtime and a ton of side work, trying to scrape together the money to make sure we could afford the trip, which we actually pulled it off. So I was really happy about that. The entire reason we did that, though, was because I had been scheduled to have a trip to Mississippi for LASIK surgery. So I was going to get corrective surgery for my eyes. But we decided to do the Disney trip also because we didn't want it to be a wasted trip down there. The reason why I say possibly being a wasted trip down there was because there was a chance that I was going to not be able to go through with the surgery. There was about a 40% chance that I would be disqualified upon arriving. So, nice long drive just to be told you can't do it. We decided to try and hedge our bets, and so we took the trip. And we went to Disney first, and we had a great time there. And we drove on down the coastline to Biloxi, Mississippi, where I had my eye surgery done. And since I'm making this video, you obviously can tell I didn't get disqualified. So we were paranoid about that for no reason, I guess. So why was I going to possibly be disqualified? For LASIK or for any of the eye surgeries, they want you to have a stabilized eye prescription. What's that mean? It means that as you're growing up and stuff, your eyesight gradually decays. For some people it happens more than others. For me, it was decaying very fast, and then it slowed down. For probably about 5 or 6 years, I was getting stuck with a new prescription of my glasses each and every year. So it was going pretty fast. And then the last 3 or 4 years, I've maybe had one change in my prescription. So that was the sign that my eyesight was finally leveling out. Now, my optometrist that I was going through for the LASIK surgery, they didn't have my records from the other doctor, so they couldn't tell how long they were stabilized, if they were stabilized good enough, stuff like that. So the first thing they had to check was to make sure that since it was 6 months later, if there was any change in my eyesight, it probably would have disqualified me. Since it had been stable, it was considered within the bounds to continue with the surgery. So that was the first day there, was another eye exam, getting checked out. They did about 3 different tests on my eyes to make sure everything was good. They checked what my eyeball pressure was, which that was interesting. They numbed my eye, dilated it, all kinds of stuff. The fun thing with the dilating that I didn't realize at the time was afterwards I could not focus on stuff for a couple hours. Not a couple hours, about an hour. My eyes were kind of locked. So in order to read my phone, I had to hold it out about 3 feet away from my face. So day two was we are going to tell you every possible thing that could go wrong, even if it's not going to possibly go wrong. If there is a 1% chance, they're still going to tell you. So if you're doing LASIK, I did mine through the Air Force. So there's that. So if you're in the military, you're doing it through the military, the second day is where you're going to probably get scared. And they're going to tell you all the things that could go wrong, what the recovery is going to be like, So the choices I had presented to me were PRK, which basically they take a brush and rub away the top layer of the skin on your eyeball and basically give you a rug burn. And then that's how they get to the lower section to do the surgery. And then there's LASIK, which they use one laser to cut a kind of a flap. Well, not kind of a flap, it is a flap. They cut a horseshoe-shaped flap to lift up, and then they get to the underlying layers that way. So recovery times, PRK had about a 5-day recovery to where you'd be really good to go. I did not do PRK, I did LASIK. So with LASIK, the recovery time is much quicker. Typically, next day you're good to go. I still had to wait in Biloxi for 5 days, but that's a little bit further down the story. Okay, so day 3 was the surgery day. So with the surgery, I had to go in about, I think it was 9 o'clock. So I had to take a Valium to pretty much settle my nerves beforehand so that I wouldn't be really squirmy when they're shooting lasers in my eyeballs. When I got to the surgery suite, my wife was with me, and we walked in. The nurse was already, or not nurse, it was another optometrist, was already there waiting for me to get there, and I was 15 minutes early, so I went in 15 minutes before my scheduled time even. So the first thing they did was they dropped a lot of numbing agent into my eyeballs. My eyes were numb. I could not feel any of them. So after they dropped all that in my eyeballs, they left me sitting there for another 10 minutes or so while the guy in front of me went and did his surgery. So I'm sitting there for about 10 minutes and just get told to relax and try not to freak out. So the optometrist came back in before she led me into the actual surgery suite, dropped a couple more drops of numbing agent in my eyes, made sure I was good and numb. I went in, I sat down laid down for the first laser. This one was kind of weird because in order for them to do the flap, they have to put a suction ring down first just to make absolutely sure your eyeball does not move at all. So putting the suction ring on was a little bit difficult. The first ring did not want to secure right away. So after about, I think, the third or fourth attempt, it finally sucked down on my eyeball, which that is not a pleasant feeling. It's not painful, but it's not pleasant. It's a very weird feeling. So once they got those down, it was about 20 seconds of just hearing a whirring sound. A little bit of a smell could be detected. And then they lift up the flap, and I can't see anything. So as I'm laying there, I can't see anything. They help me stand up, walk me over to the second table where the LASIK, or not LASIK, it is LASIK, where the other laser is for the actual corrective surgery. So I lay down for that one. I'm told to focus on this kind of pulsing, I think it was a green light, I think. Yeah, it was a green light. So I'm laying there staring up at this green light that's just a big old fuzzball to me because I can't see anything. And they tell me to stay focused on that. About 15 seconds later, they say, "You're done." So at that point, the flap was still up. I still could not see anything, so I had no idea how my vision was. The next part was kind of disorienting. What they did was they lay down the flap and they basically squeegee the flap down. So you can see them wiping all over your eye, and it's just so weird because you can't feel anything. But as they're squeegeeing, your vision just gets clearer and clearer, and where you couldn't see anything really before, it's suddenly this crystal clear vision. And it was just amazing. That goes down in my memory banks as one of the most amazing experiences ever, was going from this horrible vision to perfect. And I think that was the big thing, was between PRK and LASIK. The PRK patients, they said their vision wasn't quite there. It was getting there as they healed up. The people that did LASIK, we were good within, honestly, I was seeing perfectly 5 minutes after the surgery. Once the numbing agent started wearing off, it got even better. And I went back to my room. My wife made sure I didn't walk into any roads, but really I didn't even need her to walk me because I could see perfectly. And she was kind of laughing at me because the entire walk, because we walked from the hotel over to the hospital, is about a 1 block, or about maybe a quarter mile. But the entire walk, I'm looking at all the street signs and reading them out loud. And she just could not stop cracking up over that. So that leads us to the recovery period. And I'm going to take a quick break because I am driving. I'm running a couple errands as I do this. So I'm going to be right back to go over what the recovery was like. Okay, so moving on to recovery. Like I said, the first day of recovery was probably the worst, and that's normal for any surgery, I would say. What happened was I left the hospital suite, walked back to the hotel, reading signs all the way, got to the hotel room, put some eye drops in, took an ibuprofen, and went to sleep. And about 3 or 4 hours later, I woke up, felt fine, put some more eye drops in, and went downstairs and cooked some lunch. So 3 or 4 hours later after surgery, I was already cooking just fine. Everything was good. The first day I did have to wear this weird little plastic eye shield thing, 24 hours. And that was annoying. It looked super goofy. It was really weird looking. So after I cooked lunch, we ate. We went back up to the room. We kind of watched TV a little bit. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing. It was on this trip that I discovered that smart TVs have this thing called TV Plus. It has a whole channel dedicated just to the show Wipeout. It was just the foreign countries, so Britain, Australia, and Canada, and all that. But I love that show, so I was super happy. So we were ending up watching Wipeout like as often as possible. And fast forwarding a little bit, we got home and I just kind of experimented with our TV at home, and I was super happy to discover that I could get Wipeout TV on my TV as well. So that was awesome. That was a completely free souvenir I was super happy to have. So day two, I started the day off with an appointment to get my vision checked. So it's basically like every other eye doctor appointment that you would have. Is they look at your eyeball and make sure it's good, and they do an eye test, so reading the letters. The thing that was really telling for me was my original prescription or vision was 20/200. So normal vision is considered 20/20. So my vision was 10 times worse. After the surgery and correction, my eyesight a day after was at 20/15. So I was seeing better one day after surgery than I ever had with glasses. After that, it was another day of just relaxing at the hotel room. We went out a little bit around the base and surrounding areas. Other than that, it was just lots and lots of relaxing and enjoying my eyesight. Lots of eye drops. I had to do 4 eye drops like every 4 hours. I didn't really have any pain whatsoever. This was the thing that I found really weird, because I thought I was going to have some discomfort and everything, or at least itchiness. My eyes were not itchy at all. And there was no pain that I can remember. There was a little bit of pressure a couple times, and that's why I took the ibuprofen, but as far as pain goes, there wasn't really any pain. And that was completely taking me by surprise. So let's see. Third day, I think the third day was when we actually went and saw Frozen 2. So 3 days after, 3 days after my surgery, we went and saw a movie. Or was it 2 days after? It was 2 or 3 days after. The days all kind of blurred together after a while. We went out to a lot of good restaurants. We got to go see a lot of neat things. We made a trip down to Gulfport, where that was my first home away from home of sorts, if you don't count boot camp. So it was kind of nice. It was kind of a homecoming and getting my eyes fixed at the same time. And it's really weird, because when I was stuck living down there, I hated it. I was miserable. I wanted to be done with it. I could not wait to go home. But when you go someplace after you've been away for a while, and you're not having to worry about being stuck there anymore, there's a lot of memories. So I made a lot of good friends down there. Some of them I don't really talk to anymore. I wish I did. Others I've managed to keep in contact with. Some of them I went halfway across the globe with. Sorry, I had to stop there for a second. Moral of the story is, there's a lot of memories, and there were a lot of good times. There were good times and there were bad times. Just like with anything. And I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. Okay, so moving on. That Friday, I had another, or I guess it was, the following day, I had another appointment. So the Monday after the surgery, I had my 5-day appointment, I believe. Yeah, I think it was a 5-day appointment. That's what it was called. So I had my 5-day appointment on the Monday following. This was the make or break moment. If my eyes were good to go, I would be able to go home. If they weren't, I'd be staying a little bit longer, maybe getting a touch-up surgery. But everything checked out. My eyes were fine. My vision was still 2015, so no degradation. And so I got to go home. Now, the drive home was interesting, to say the least. I kept reaching for my glasses when it was dark out and I couldn't feel my glasses, so I instinctively would reach for them, and hey, I don't need glasses anymore. During the day I was wearing sunglasses all the time, so I didn't really notice it that much. This was the other neat thing for me, was I love sunglasses. I've always loved wearing sunglasses, so being able to wear sunglasses without having to worry about contacts or regular glasses at all was awesome. And my wife actually surprised me for Christmas with a pair of Star Wars glasses that I really love. I think I'm gonna do a quick little blip at the end of this video showing them off. So can't wait to show those off. I think they might be one of my favorite gifts from Christmas this year. So on the drive home, that first night, we had left a little bit late because as we were leaving, we left the base and we got 3 miles down the road and we had a flat tire. And there ended up being a pencil-sized hole in the side of my tire. And my tires were new, fairly new. They were 8 months old, so not supposed to have a blowout like that or a flat tire like that. Luckily, we used Firestone. We had really good warranty on them, so we went back and they didn't have the right tire in stock. So they were going to be able to get it, but it would have taken until about 3 p.m., which, trying to leave and drive 8 hours, you don't want to leave at 3 p.m. So the guy at the desk kind of worked some magic for me. He found a tire in his stockroom that was the right size. It wasn't the right tire per se, because I had all matching tires, so this one wasn't a matching tire. That really simplify it that way. What they did was they made a note on my account that they put the wrong tire on because it was a road hazard emergency. And so they got me back on the road within, I think it was 2 hours. So we left Biloxi right around noon. So let's see, where does that put us? So yeah, a huge, I don't think I could ever thank that guy enough for working that out for us. And what they did was they made a note on our account so that when we got back home, whenever we got a chance, we could take it into our local Firestone and get the tire replaced with the correct one. So not really what they usually do, and it's not a standard thing for them. It was definitely an act of kindness on that guy's part, and I am very grateful for that, because he got us on the road quick enough to make it to our first stop on the way home, and we didn't have to be delayed a day. So it was just great. And when we got home, we got the tire fixed to the correct tire, so that's all good now. But since we did have to leave late that day, I got to have my first experience with driving at night. It was a common side effect of the LASIK surgery is you will get halos around lights at night. I mean, it might happen at daytime, but I haven't noticed it at all. So I had halos, which basically made the lights turn about 2 to 3 times their size. So after an hour of driving in that, I had to take a break. It was giving me a little bit of a headache. After that, we kept driving. I think I took an ibuprofen for the headache. But we kept driving. I think we had to drive 3 hours total in the dark. So 3 hours with the halos. When we got to the hotel that night, I dropped. I was ready to sleep. We ended up having dinner at, where was it? Texas Roadhouse. We had dinner at Texas Roadhouse that night, and that was really good. I did the exact same thing I had been doing on that walk home, and the entire recovery time, every sign I could find, I was reading it from as far away as I could. So I was just reveling in the ability to see right. So in a minute, I will get to the final day drive home and the kind of the last month or two of recovery that I've been going through. Okay, so now that I have a bunch of 2x4s in my car, I will continue with this. So moving into the last day of driving. Last day of driving went absolutely fine. There's not really much to say. There was a stressful situation, and when I got really stressed out, my eyes did kind of bug me a little bit. But as far as just as normal driving goes, and normal situations go, I was absolutely fine. So, yeah, after 5 days of resting, driving was okay. Moving on to the last month. So, I just recently, this last week, had my 1 month checkup, and my vision is still doing good. Over the last month, I've had to do eye drops I've had to do 4 to 8 of one type of eye drop per day, and then I have to do one type of eye drop twice a day. So not nearly as much as when I first was started up, because I had 4 different types of drops I was doing 4 times a day. Now it's gotten a bit more relaxed now. Other than that, I've been taking a lot of vitamin C supplements. They really suggested that as something to help you recover faster. I guess there's been studies done that show that increased vitamin C intake is good for recovery. So if you're doing LASIK, stock up on vitamin C. I've been doing the chewable, so it's basically like popping in a sweet tart after every meal. So with this most recent checkup, they saw no issues with my eyes. One thing that was annoying throughout the last month was when you get LASIK, that suction ring, it basically leaves a hickey on your eyeball. So it was like a big splotch of blood that was kind of making a crescent around part of my eyeball, or around the iris. So that looked weird. It's finally starting to clear up. I figure I've probably got 1 more week of that. So that bloody look, it sticks around, but not for too terribly long. So that's nearly gone. When I went to my checkup, they tested me for 20/20 vision and passed that with flying colors. When I went and met with my surgeon, he was talking to me about a new version of LASIK actually that's coming, that actually just started up, called Smile, where that horseshoe shape is about half the size of what it currently is. So it would have been an even easier recovery. So I'm kind of bummed out that I didn't get to do that one, but I can't really be too bummed out because I've got awesome vision now. So as we were talking, and he looked at my chart, he's like, "Yeah, you definitely got 20/20 vision." I was like, "Yeah." Then they tested me there. They said 20/15. So he pulled up the eye chart again. He was like, "I want to see this." So he tested my vision for 20/15, and sure enough, 20/15. So that's about all there's been for the recovery. I mean, I expected it to be a lot more annoying, but it's really been not bad at all. I used to wear contacts all the time, and they were always so annoying. My eyes really, I naturally have kind of dry eyes, so they never really stayed comfortable very long. So I guess in that sense I was lucky, because I was kind of used to they call it an eyelash feeling in your eye, like you got a loose eyelash in your eyeball. So I was used to that feeling already because of dealing with contacts, so I haven't had to rub my eyes nearly as much. The one thing that I did find annoying was all the eye drops you have to throw in, they crust up on your eyelashes a lot. So especially that first week, my eyes it was getting hard to keep my eyes open because my eyelids would like to glue shut. And I guess the really simple way to clean them is just to very, very gently use a little bit of warm water on a rag and just gently wipe it across downward. Not side to side, not upward, but just straight down. And you can use that to kind of clear it up. Other than that, yeah, it's been good. Vision's doing good, health's doing good. I really am very thankful that I was able to do this surgery. That I had no intention of doing that surgery because I know how expensive it is, but when I went in for a checkup, they offered to provide it for me for, well, since I'm military, for free. I just had to go to a military hospital for it, so went back to second home in Biloxi. And now here I am. I don't have to worry about glasses for probably quite a while, and contacts are good. Or, well, I don't have to worry about contacts, so that's good. For people in the military that are hesitant about doing the surgeries, don't be. It was an amazing experience. The people at Keesler Air Force Base were amazing. They were some of the most skilled people I've ever seen. As far as military doctors go, I know a lot of people, they have a bad rep, but these guys take it very seriously. They are very careful, and they do an excellent job. I think that's about all I've got for today. So I'm going to roll into that sunglasses video, and I will talk to you guys next time. So this was an absolutely perfect gift from my wife for Christmas this year. If you know me at all, you know that I love Boba Fett. He is my favorite Star Wars character, which really bums me out that there's no character meet and greet for him at Galaxy's Edge at all. But I'll get over it. But yeah, these are just some awesome sunglasses. They're pretty high quality. Just got this nice little Boba Fett scheme going. Comes with a strap. Nice hard case. And it's also got this soft case that can double as a screen wipe. And it's really cool looking.